please have a seat. Again in the main hall, and please take your seats since we have to restart the program. I was so glad to be back in time. So can you imagine a world where there would be no moderator here on stage because artificial intelligence will moderate all the stuff without any mistake, and where a blockchain situation will be able to do the contract signing? I mean, it's conceivable, right? We wouldn't have to meet all together anymore since AI and blockchain technology would just do our job. Well, maybe it's not the future, maybe it is. We'll find out during our next panel about the blockchain partnership initiative the EU is about to start. And actually, before you all sit, I'll take the time to remind you that we have a really active Twitter audience here, and you can join that audience. The hashtag is DD18, and you can put forward questions also there. So we have remaining panels, and maybe 1 or 2 questions from Twitter will make it to a panel in the afternoon also. And of course, the online poll is going on all the time, and we'll have the results in every panel that is coming. So, and now it's my pleasure and your relief that I'm not moderating the next panel, but there will be a change. It's my pleasure to introduce Ann Mettler from the European Political Strategic Center, if you will. Ann, join us on stage, please. And there is a round of applause in order, I guess. Hi, Ann.
Hello, hello.
Nice that you're here. So tell us just in 1 or 2 sentences, what is this strategical center?
Yes, so the European Political Strategy Center is the in-house think tank of the European Commission, which reports directly to President Juncker, but really works with colleagues from across the House.
Okay. Ann, nice, great that you are here. It's a great audience. Enjoy your panel.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Carsten. Great to be with you. I am really thrilled to be leading a discussion on blockchain this afternoon. So blockchain is, of course, often associated and sometimes even equated, it seems to me, with cryptocurrencies. But that is really doesn't pay tribute to what all this technology can do. So for some time, the European Commission and many of its member states have really been keen to explore the potential areas of application of blockchain technology. And areas of application that require essentially a decentralized, trusted technology, a sort of electronic ledger that consists of irrefutable records that can track pretty much anything of value. And we have seen examples of countries using or testing blockchain to provide, for instance, access to healthcare data, as was done very successfully by Estonia. We have also seen in Sweden the use of a blockchain to register land property records. And we've seen in the Netherlands blockchain used to essentially efficiently manage supply chain and customs operations, just to give you a little bit of an overview of some of the applications of blockchain. Today, we will hear from different political leaders how their governments are preparing for the blockchain revolution. And we will also explore how Europe and the EU can help to bring about better, more efficient, and more trusted services to citizens, and thereby, of course, drive innovation, drive jobs, drive growth. So let me now call on stage the members of my panel. Let me tell you in advance, this is the moderator's seat, so don't sit here. But let me call on stage Mona Keijzer, State Secretary for Economic Affairs and Climate Policy of the Netherlands. Give her a round of applause. Tadej Slapnik, State Secretary in the Cabinet Office of the Prime Minister of Slovenia. Welcome. Karol Okoński, Undersecretary of State, Ministry of Digital Affairs, Poland. Please. Eva Kaili, a member of the European Parliament and Rapporteur of the European Parliament resolution on blockchain, joins me on this side. Welcome. And Sorin, Moisa, a member of the European Parliament. Please come on up. And finally, also Jeremy Millar, a technologist and chief of staff at Consensus, who represents the recently launched European Blockchain Observatory and Forum. Welcome. So let me actually start now with Jeremy Millar, who will provide us with an introduction on how blockchain can really become a key game changer for Europe's public services and economy, and on the role that the recently launched EU Blockchain Observatory can really play in this effort. So Jeremy, I've been told that you have been given about 8 to 10 minutes. I take as, if you know me, I'm tough on time. So 8 to 10 minutes for your remarks, which will very much set the scene for the discussion today. So over to you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Ann. And thank you for having us today. So Consensus was honored to be assisting the European Commission building the 2-year European Blockchain Observatory program. And really, there are 3 objectives to what we're trying to accomplish. First is to create a repository of knowledge about blockchain applications and technology. Second, to create the framework capabilities, whether it's identity management, security, what have you, that are required to drive the adoption. And third, and perhaps most importantly, is to identify and prioritize use cases. Almost everyone in this room, I'm sure, is aware of the billions of dollars, literally, that were invested in blockchain technology companies in 2017. It was quite an explosive year. And perhaps what's most optimistic on this chart is the amount of that capital that was invested in European projects. But we're not here today to talk about the cryptocurrency or the investment use cases of blockchain, but rather, as Ann referred to, the use of this as a disintermediated, secure, distributed infrastructure for smart contracts, smart agreements, business process management, and exchange of assets really of any value across complex applications, and really dramatically reducing the cost and complexity of building decentralized business processes that can be managed very securely. And so we believe in our company, and the evidence that we're seeing even since the launch of the EU Observatory is these use cases will proliferate every industry and every application across governments and the private sector. 3 that we highlight on this slide are supply chain management, where we see, and in fact, our company is involved with supply chain management applications across vaccines, minerals, commodities, et cetera, where proof of provenance, where did this come from, validation of the authenticity are critical, right? In building financial systems without intermediaries that don't have central counterparty risk, where assets can be exchanged automatically and bilaterally between counterparties in real time, potentially not only much more efficient, but much safer in terms of exposing us to systemic financial risk. Or one that is very topical today is the notion that users need to take back control of their private data, take back control of their identity, and how we can use blockchain to provide self-sovereign identity and data management for individuals while still providing the same level of service and applications that we achieve today in these central monolithic applications. Right? And these applications are growing very quickly in government. There are many pilots and proof of concepts underway in Dubai, across land title, across checks, across blockchain infrastructure for government services, in Zug using identity based on a blockchain application so that users can stay in control of who they are as they access government services. Monetary Authority of Singapore, which has run experiments and looking to replace an archaic mainframe-based, unreliable system with a no single point of failure decentralized system for interbank clearing, and a whole slew of applications across Europe, right? I would be surprised if there is a country in this room that doesn't have a proof of concept or pilot underway with this technology. And so let me propose a thesis that with the range and depth of technology talent, projects, institutes, and startups that are collaborating on this, that this is the decade for Europe to take a technological leap and to be a global leader in this next generation of technology, right? It isn't happening in one place, it's happening everywhere. And initiatives such as this day today and the EU Blockchain Observatory can only further and accelerate Europe's leadership position in this ecosystem. So thank you very much. I think that was less than 8 minutes, and I look forward to the panel.
Thank you so much. Maybe before we go to our panelists, I mean, essentially what you describe is a world which has the potential to be fundamentally different, because right now, every interaction that involves value, or most interaction, has an intermediary of some kind, be it a bank, be it a notary, be it a record company. So what you are describing potentially is a world that can be quite threatening to the intermediaries, but also potentially hugely empowering to people, both as users, but also providers of services. Before we move on, tell me a little bit from where you sit. How does Europe compare to, let's say, United States, China? Where do we stand globally on this?
So I think Europe stands right at the forefront. One of the things that's interesting about blockchain technology, sometimes I refer to it as the post-Silicon Valley movement. If you look at AI, if you look at social media, if you look at the smartphone, there's a very deep concentration of technology development in the valley. Blockchain, Bitcoin, and more recently Ethereum, and other technologies really are much more of a global phenomenon. And so it's fantastic to see this balance of the organic growth of the ecosystem combined with support such as the Observatory project and the people in this room today to try and harness and accelerate it. But it's much more of a global technology movement, more so than anything that we've seen over my career.
So what you're saying is there's an opportunity here for Europe to lead.
Absolutely.
Very good. I think that's a nice way to start, and by the way, corroborates also what I have heard, that this is a real opportunity for Europe to exert global leadership. Now, I will turn to our political representatives, which of course we're very eager to hear from, because this can't be happening without you. So, however, let me say we are a little bit pressed for time, so I'm asking you to keep your remarks to about 5 minutes, if that's possible. And with that, let me first turn to State Secretary Keijzer from the Netherlands. We understand there's a well-established blockchain initiative in your country that brings together public authorities and the private sector. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about this, the interplay between public authorities and the private sector, because this doesn't always work seamlessly, and it would be interesting to hear from you what some of your experiences are.
Well, it's the way we conduct in the Netherlands on different areas, not just in blockchain, but also in public-private funding of other innovative techniques. It works in the Netherlands, and it really does. And it also does when it comes to the Dutch Blockchain Coalition. It's about 30 partners from public and private sectors. You name it, and they're part of it, whether it's energy, legislative or legal organizations, energy, logistics, they're all part of it. And my problem with this kind of discussion, that when you're not careful, you fly over in a great height, and at the end of the day you think, well, what were we talking about? So I find it, I like to tell you about what kind of initiatives do we then talk about, if not the Bitcoin stuff, because it's always about the Bitcoin, and we should also address the issues which are facing us now when we talk about Amazon and Facebook. In Bitcoins, there are similar discussions to be held. Can you still go and participate now, realizing the amount of money and computers you need to be part of it? But that's for another moment. I know that the European Commission is discussing those subjects. So for now, I like to discuss some initiatives which are initiatives. Thank you. I'm Dutch, I'm sorry. By the blockchain coalition. And the first example is Fair Chain Coffee. Coffee farmers are then paid directly through blockchain, which means the middlemen are not needed anymore. And it feels good, because all the money comes directly to the people who make the coffee. It's disruptive, because it means, on a larger scale, that a lot of people who are now earning their money in the financial sector or in the legal sector won't be needed later on. It leads to a better price for their products. Another example is from the world of waste processing. A lot of parties are involved, and a large amount of data has to be recorded. The inspection services receives crucial data notifications via 3 different media: email, posts, and even the fax. The fax, yeah, it still exists. Luckily, there is a pilot being implemented to find out if these processes can be automated through blockchain. And a third example comes from Zuid-Hoorn. It's a small city in the north of the Netherlands, and they use blockchain to distribute the budget for parents who earn a minimum income. And here we have to discuss about the fact what it means for those people that they're not in charge of their own financial means anymore. On the other hand, they need to be helped, because we know that a certain amount of those people are not capable of managing their own budget. And the blockchain database checks whether purchases fits all the conditions linked to the budget, like whether it's the right store or if the parents have enough budget. This relieves the administrative burdens on parents, and that's a good thing, because we know about research, when you're in debt or when you have difficulties managing your budget, that's the only thing what's in your mind. So you're not busy anymore. It's possible that you're not busy anymore with raising your children or finding an education or finding a job, and end the situation which you have to rely on social services. Those are 3 examples.
Excellent, thank you so much. And can I ask you, when was this partnership founded, and who initiated it? Was it your department?
No, not just my department, also colleagues of mine, Justice Department, the Care, the Social Security Department, they're all part of this coalition.
And do companies approach you and say, we want to do some work?
Well, in the Netherlands, it's just the way we do things.
Yeah, like the Green Deal.
We're like the Green Deal, we're like all other initiatives. We know as a government that we need companies, and we need universities, and we need municipalities to address those issues, and they know that they need us.
Very good. I think it's an excellent example of sort of creating an ecosystem that really works and brings all the various actors together. So thank you so much. I think now might be a good time actually to look to a question that the Commission DG Connect posted about blockchain. Can we see the online poll? Is it possible? So you see, the question is, what is the best way for our economy and society to benefit from blockchain-enabled services and business models? And you see here, it's a tight race, that essentially the collaboration between the public and the private sector is key, more so than the collaboration between public authorities. But as I said, it's a tight race. But when you look at this, would you clearly say the answer is 2?
Well, I would choose the red one, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, well, we realize in the Netherlands that it's the only way to do so. If you just leave it to public authorities you're lacking the innovative spirit, which is part of companies. And when you just look at market forces, then who is going to protect us at the end from big companies who want to make money, period?
And one last question. The companies that come to you, are they more technology companies or are they more established players? Or both?
It's a combination. It's tech companies, but it's also legal companies, energy companies. So it's really a combination of all the players which are needed to reach to the benefits which this disruptive technology can bring us. We're not sure yet if in 10 years' time we will be as happy and if the room is as vibrant as it is today. But we have to be part of it because it will interfere in the lives of our citizens gravely.
Yeah. Very interesting. Thank you so much. So, Undersecretary Okoński, blockchain technology presents an important opportunity to public services, and Poland is cooperating with member states, notably on the possible piloting of a pan-Europe government services blockchain. So can you please tell us a little bit about that, and also why for you the cross-border element collaboration is so important?
Yes, so I'm afraid I will not be able to say too much about the project itself, as it actually still has been submitted as a proposal in the DT Transformations Horizon 2020 call, so it's still under, let's say, under evaluation. One thing that I can add and I can say is that I think the e-government topic, especially if you would like to find some examples on using the blockchain, is definitely, I would say the challenge, the biggest challenge would be to go over one country to another. So let's say to create a really trans-border service. So because here, you come up with the challenges regarding the standards, the infrastructure, the funding. So creating a place where we can actually try to, in experimental way, and using the research, the data, also exchanging data here, also which can also impact the further services, and we can, by applying this once only principle, interoperability, if we can actually prove that it can work in the trans-border services, it can actually work anywhere, and also not only within between the member states, but also all around the world. And here we also touch upon a very important difference between the blockchain and something what is called a distributed ledger technology, in a sense that being strictly correct here, if you speak about blockchain, you actually speak about a network of nodes, which is actually permissionless. So it's like everyone can join, which in the end makes it very open, but also very energy consuming in terms of calculating, the current value of the ledger. But then if you speak about the distributed ledgers, you can actually consider it as some kind of a trusted ecosystem, trusted system which actually requires permission to enter. But in the end, you can, in certain applications, like for example, tax collection and some registries where you want to control the state of the registry, so the property registry, the e-voting mechanism, you can actually want intentionally to limit the nodes, limits the access to the services, but at the same time, you maintain all the good points the blockchain actually brings. So you don't need any intermediaries, and you can have the audit trail. You can actually, at every point of time, actually go back and have a snapshot of what had actually happened at a given point of time. And so I would say, if you look at the blockchain, it's more about the technological way of actually handling whatever transaction possible. And I think in digital world, actually, transactions are pretty much what the relations are in the real world. So, and here, if you look from this perspective, actually the application of blockchain becomes very wide, and you can. And it's both the public services where you can find the solutions, like in the financial services, in like I said, in finance, identity management as well. So making sure that there's building an ecosystem of trusted services where the identity can be also matched using the blockchain. So if the governments can actually come up with some programs to inspire the private sector, the startups, to come up with the solutions, creating some kind of what we call the sandboxes with the infrastructure and the regulatory part, let's say, for experimental purposes. I think by iterative way of finding the best balance between the legal constraints and the business application, we can find the best environment for this technology to flourish. So, and I think here it's probably, again, like this link between the public and private sector that was already mentioned before is very important. It's like the government should say, inspire, create the environment, but then let probably the private sector do the creative part in the end, because we believe that here is where the startups and the speed of coming up with ideas is still in the end much higher than the public sector. So the public sector should, let's say, create a good base and then let the business do the other things.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Extremely interesting. Let me ask you, I recently moderated a panel with your Minister for Entrepreneurship, and she spoke about AI and about how important it was to collaborate with others and how European leadership is very much needed. Now I hear the same on blockchain. So two follow-up questions. Number one is, in the government, do you somehow connect the dossiers? Do you say we have an overarching sort of technology strategy? We have the AI here, we have the blockchain, but we don't deal with them separately? And secondly, you say, and quote, and I quote you, it's a big challenge to go from one country to another. When you go to another country, who do you choose? Or do you go just to any random country? Or you say, I want to go to the Netherlands because they're doing interesting work? Or where are you looking to go?
Okay, so as for the coordination part, we in Poland have the Ministry for Digital Affairs. This is the natural focal point of also talking about any topic that has something, any link with the technology itself. So it helps a bit in the end in those discussions, but blockchain as well as artificial intelligence are very horizontal topics. And I think in the end, the technology is just a tool. So we have to make sure, this is what we strive to do in Poland, to always speak with the end users, but also the ministry that has the power and the responsibility for given business sector. Because in the end, we should start with business applications and find the best way to do it. I mean, blockchain will not always be the best solution in the end. It doesn't make sense to do it like at force. But whenever there's a chance, we can advise on making of at least trying to do. And
other countries.
And as for the other countries, we're open for any cooperation. I think the blockchain Observatory is one of the forums where actually the exchange of ideas can happen, and I think also comparing by the means of such forums like this one or the aforementioned Observatory, when we hear about the similar projects that are done between the countries, probably this will be the first take, just to try to see what we do differently, what we do similarly, and trying to find some lessons learned from each other.
Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much, Undersecretary. Next up is State Secretary Slapnik. How strategically important is blockchain for Slovenia? And how do you think public services in your country and across Europe are they ready to migrate towards blockchain technology in order to bring about more efficient services to citizens? Are we ready for that yet?
Well, in Slovenia, we didn't, years ago, it was 2015, we weren't looking for blockchain as a technology. We have a strategic orientation to move our economy from linear into the circular economy. And trying to find the answers, how we will do it. It was quite soon already told by entrepreneurs, by the academia, that if we will not use digitalization, of course, as a tool, and especially blockchain, we will not be so successful. Starting from that, then we already in 2015, 2016, of course, we tried to see what do we have in Slovenia, and I have to tell you that already from 2012 on, Slovenian either startup blockchain companies, now already a strong, big blockchain companies, started to do a great job, not just on national EU, but on worldwide level. This then help us to build this really important partnership, as it was mentioned, because if you have a country with the goal to go circular, if you have the entrepreneurs, if you have academia, then of course you need to merge them all together. And how we did it, it was of course first Ministry of Public Administration, responsible for digitalization. Then it was Prime Minister Office, who is running the strategic project Going Circular. And then to build a partnership, we decided that we will be the first EU country who will organize as a country blockchain national meetup. And on that blockchain national meetup, it was 500 entrepreneurs from all over Slovenia appeared with already concrete activities going on. And this was really, for a small country of 2 million people, quite an achievement. What to do, how to follow up the process, we decided to do first to distribute the information among all stakeholders. Among Digital Coalition of Slovenia, we established National Blockchain Think Tank. Now already 400 different stakeholders are involved inside of it. Then we decided that on legal issues, it will be, of course, Ministry of Public Administration and 7 other ministries involved, because quite a lot of concrete questions are on the table when the projects and the companies are developing the technological proposals, much related to how it will be regulated. And the last, we saw that we have to build the ecosystem. That's why we are now building, not just on national level, but on European level, a proposal that we should make a European blockchain hub in order to merge all these activities going on in the different EU member states and to really facilitate the realization of the potential of blockchain technologies in practice.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. And extremely interesting to learn the leadership role that Slovenia has played here. Can I ask, did you look anywhere? You mentioned you started this as early as 2012, then 2015. So this is very early days. Where did you look for inspiration as a best practice?
We were inspired by our companies. I told you, yeah, they were really champions. For example, it was in 2013, I think, Project Economy. It was the second biggest crowdfunding project in Europe. And already in that time, we tried to understand how it happens, which knowledge do they have, what is the technology behind, and of course, starting to collaborating, starting to understand them, getting the trust, because also to collaborate, it's on the both sides, understanding and then delivering. It was that. But then I think crucial thing happened when it was last year, when it was event in Silicon Valley, when it was also organized by the European Commission. European startups comes to Silicon Valley, and there we saw that we have a lot of potential with collaboration on EU level, but that we are also leading as a Europe on the field of blockchain startups. We know the investments are going from the valley into the Europe, and these investments are now really making possible that, at least from Slovenia, we have 5% of worldwide investment in the blockchain startups worldwide. Wow. Can you imagine? And these potentials are, of course, not just for Slovenia, it's for Europe. And here now the maybe question how we are then starting to collaborate with others. Already in San Francisco, we decided together with the European Commission and some member states that let's do a kind of European blockchain meetup. We did it in October last year in Slovenia. It was, I think, already 12 different member states participating. We established altogether declaration Blockchain Europe, call to action, and I think 2 or 3 months after that, actually European Commission established the Observatory Forum. The things are happening, and for example, tomorrow we are hosting in Slovenia the first European Blockchain Summit together with 4 member states, together with the European Commission, and I think this is the way that we should continue, because this cooperation among the EU member states, among the ecosystem is the way that we will really positionate European Union as #1 continent on the field of blockchain.
And congratulations, by the way. I mean, 5% of global blockchain funding into Slovenia is a huge accomplishment, and I think we should speak more about these best practices in Europe. So congratulations to you. Next is Eva Kaili, a member of the European Parliament. And based on your work towards a European Parliament resolution on blockchain, so perhaps you can speak a little bit or highlight the potential of blockchain, but also some of the challenges, because obviously here we speak about all the potential, you know, but maybe also some of the challenges ought to be discussed. So over to you.
Thank you so much. So there are many things I would like to share with you, because we've been working on this file for quite a long time. Let me just point out that we have huge support cross parties and cross countries, which is really important. That's why I do believe we can actually lead in the blockchain technology. And I have to thank Mr. Viola, Peter, Ischiara, Pierre, because it's not expected to find open-minded people working on these files, a technology that people would ask us, is it CIA controlling it? Like, it was a question that we had to answer. So to have open-minded people working on this file is not actually, you know, common sense. So also people asking us if the banks agree with us, if they're okay for politicians to support blockchain. And then you have to say, you know, the banks are not doing the legislation. They don't have to like it. So this is something that, yes, these are some of the challenges. First of all, to explain to people what it is, and to make sure that they will be protected from fraud, because a lot of people claim that they have blockchain technology, maybe they don't. You have to explain to them what is decentralization and whether private keys should be protected, and if something is permissioned, which means it's controlled, it's not exactly the blockchain they think it is. So we have to educate also citizens, we have to educate politicians, and I'm really happy to be among you, and thank you, Anne, for being also a leading force on the digital agenda, because I do believe that only together we can be competitive in a global world where other countries don't have to respect GDPR. We saw what happened also with Cambridge Analytica. I do believe we have not a challenge with blockchain. It's not a problem. Maybe it's a solution to comply with GDPR, to protect data, for example, health data on blockchain, because you can have control of who is watching your data, who is copying your data, if you give access or not. So we are trying also to approach the ICOs in an open-minded way, the initial coin offering. This is something new, but it's basically a way to do crowdfunding on your mobile. Everybody can support an idea. And when the banks don't provide liquidity to SMEs, this could be a great tool. And US didn't have the same approach. So I do believe that Europe, being supportive on that, also can take advantage of this time and lead also in this situation. May I also say that if you see the volatility of the prices, even of the currencies, because blockchain has many applications, but the volatility is directly connected to legal certainty. So if there is something on the news that gives us uncertainty to the environment, suddenly you see huge, volatility to the prices. They go down or up depending on the news. So I think it's our responsibility to act very fast. And the resolution is very supportive. I can tell you that the first time I attended an event, first of all, there were no women. I was like, wow, no women. I was like, I think the only one talking about blockchain, like 3 years ago. The second thing was that when they realized I'm a politician, they were so aggressive and they didn't like it because they do believe that we are there to control and regulate. Well, actually, it's proven that they need this technology, new technologies need legal certainty, so they do need politicians to regulate, not over-regulate, to do smart regulation. So I do think we have the lead on that. And finally, if I may say, I come also from Greece. I am representing also my country, I think, today, that's going to participate in the first alliance on health data, on blockchain. I can tell you that what happened in the crisis, during the crisis, was a complete loss of trust from the citizens to politicians, to banks, to the system. So when I heard about the technology that can give you back trust, I realized there is a potential there. And I think this is a huge opportunity to regain this trust. But we have to be very careful to make sure that we will not lose this opportunity. And of course, as I said, we will work together.
Very good. Thank you so much. It was really very interesting also to hear a little bit the pressures that you are under, you know, as a legislator, also coming from the incumbents. And I like what you said about a technology that can create trust. I mean, not without reason, the blockchain is oftentimes called sort of the trust protocol of the modern era. I want to press you a little bit on regulation. Because it's true that we've had the rise of Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies, largely unregulated. But can you mention one or two specific regulatory actions that you think should be taken in less than 1 minute?
So I can tell you that, first of all, as I said, legal certainty is essential. We have to make sure what we want. And since it's a tool that you can carry, you can do transactions through any kind of currency. We have to make sure to be transparent on what currency is, what is Bitcoin, what is Ethereum. We have to make sure that people know if it's a smart contract, if it's a digital currency, if they will pay taxes, where they should pay taxes. So I think what we need to do is clarify things. We will work with the Blockchain Observatory on that. We are now calling some members. We are asking for a pilot to have an ICO's observatory also. And basically, we're watching this technology as an infrastructure, and we try to monitor the developments, because even the people that work on blockchain, they don't know the full potential of this technology. So we're monitoring, we try to create some sandboxes, and of course to make sure to rethink completely how we're going to tax the minimum taxation, because when we talk about tax, everybody's scared. We don't need to tax a lot. We need to have a minimum taxation and to allow this innovation to happen. So I think transparency, education, to have a registry of what is legal, what is not, if there is fraud, if there is a legal base in Europe, for example, what is the country that this company is based in.
Yeah,
I think
so
these
many
are the main
questions,
things that somebody has to answer.
Excellent, and it's wonderful that you're already thinking about it. So,
thank you so much. And if I could add one number that I think is very interesting, because I heard you said about the energy consumption. Everything is relevant to what you compare it with. If you think that hidden transactions in Greece, in the banking, in Europe, in the banking sector, is 130 billion per year, transaction fees, this has huge potential.
Interesting point. Thank you for bringing it in. So to conclude, I would like to ask Sorin Moisa, a member of the European Parliament, how can we ensure that Europe will be a leader and not a follower in blockchain technology?
Yes, thank you. Actually, I would pick up from where Eva just left, and also obviously cover your question and make a few important points, I believe. We have had a major policy response from Europe already on the development of blockchain, and this is going to materialize this very month in April. On the 18th of April, the European Parliament will vote on an amended anti-money laundering legislation, the directive. We're amending the existing regime for money laundering, adapting the regime to the world of cryptocurrencies and blockchain. And I could not emphasize enough the importance of this, because a lot of the controversy around blockchain has stemmed for good reasons and for the wrong reasons, from issues connected or pertaining to cryptocurrencies. there have been scams, there have been dishonest things happening in this space, and a lot of the reputational issues and the controversies around blockchain have stemmed from this space. So the fact that we have a major jurisdiction, I would say the most important economic jurisdiction of the world, adopting its legislation, its regime, to bring light, civilization, predictability to this world, in a very concrete fashion. So brokers, exchanges of cryptocurrencies will have to be licensed, registered, they will have to do proper KYC to customers. So light and civilization is being brought to this world, which in turn would help us, all of us, focus energy on the innovation side of the technology itself, not allowing a lot of the energy to be burned uselessly on futile marginal discussions about scams, which unfortunately again have sometimes been real. So blockchain is a disruptive technology. This also means it does bring resistance, and of course, respectable entities in the, let's say, pre-blockchain world, which are being disrupted by blockchain, including yesterday's disruptors of Silicon Valley, will be and may be disrupted by blockchain. That resistance, of course, can use and misuse and sometimes abuse some of the real-life abuses and scams that have been happening in the crypto space. So I think even if the cryptocurrencies are only one part of the blockchain world, maybe even a marginal part in terms of the technological breakthrough happening, it's good to bring hygiene and cleanliness in this space. And I believe the fact itself that the EU is embarking on this is qualifying us to be a competitive jurisdiction for it. And then comes the part with the alliance that we are creating today, with the funding through Horizon 2020 and the funding that we'll hopefully have in the future to bring proper innovation. We need to to build a blockchain single market, in fact, to avoid disruption. And again, this is the first major step today here. And I could only commend the European Commission, and in a very genuine fashion. I'm not in the habit of doing that, but for established institutions tend to be conservative. They don't really like change. They don't like new stuff that disrupts. And blockchain, by definition, it disrupts. So the open-mindedness and progressive way in which the Commission has looked at this space is really impressive, and I could only commend the Commission and the team that has been working on this for so long. So yes, putting the crypto world in order, funding innovation, creating a European public ledger of sorts, working with the defragmentation of the single market, actually building a blockchain single market from scratch, as blockchain is taking off. I think all of these are ways for Europe to truly be competitive in this space, in a context in which America has not actually been putting its act together, particularly on the regulatory side. And one final word, I know many people in the blockchain world are, I don't like regulation. There's a healthy degree of libertarianism, of, even anarchism at times. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also a degree of arrogance and sufficiency and self-righteousness of people who believe, they now hold the keys to the future, private or otherwise, and, they can tell the rest of the world what will happen to it. It's normal to interact with the public authorities. We represent the public good overall, and we do need to find the right balance between disruptive technologies, which again we are encouraging in Europe, and defending the public good and those who are more vulnerable and could be taken advantage of. So I believe on this one we have really got the balance right in Europe.
Excellent, thank you so much. And what I like about your intervention is we are getting better at anticipating the resistance. And I think that's very good, so that we are not overwhelmed by the resistance. Let me ask you where you sit as an MEP. More resistance right now, or more pressure on creating an enabling environment?
Clearly, I'm seeing both. But I believe let's say the winds of innovation are clearly winning the day. But I am being lobbied by both sides. I see frightened institutions who basically, including very respectable institutions like this gentleman running well, he did not lobby me personally, but it's just he epitomizes well this world. The International Bank of Settlements, it's like a Bretton Woods institution you've never heard of, but it's there, who basically puts an equal sign between blockchain and all the scams and money laundering and terrorist finance of the world, which is obviously rubbish. So there is that, and it gets materialized in various ways, but there's a lot of pressure from innovative companies, from innovative governments, and somehow it seems that it's this blockchain decentralization movement is somehow something genetically ingrained in the human race. So it's as if we have been waiting for this, and there's a lot of empowerment coming out of it, and obviously free people like to be empowered. So I see both, but I believe the winds of innovation and of positive change are winning the day in the end, and in Europe they certainly seem to be doing that.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We're unfortunately out of time, but I want to conclude the session by something that Jeremy said in the beginning, namely that this is really an opportunity for Europe, where Europe can make a big technological leap and really demonstrate some global leadership. Because if you think about what is Europe's space in the global digital economy, it has to be at the high end. It has to be the security, the safety, the trust that is so important also for the adoption of these technologies. So I really want to warmly thank our panel. I am deeply impressed by all of the initiatives that are going on, and I am so hopeful that we can really make great advances in the months and years to come. So please join me in giving them a very warm round of applause. And not to be rude, but I have to ask you to go off stage because I am now very pleased to commence the ceremony for the signature of the Declaration of Cooperation on the European Blockchain Partnership. Okay, very good, thank you. Blockchain partnership was already mentioned. We have heard today many times, I think, about the need to strengthen cooperation across the EU on diverse areas of technology development and innovation. Can I just mention this is now not an opportunity to start talking to your neighbor? Because this is very important, what is about to happen, and it deserves your attention. The 21 member states, which are signatories of this declaration, recognize the potential of blockchain to transform digital services in Europe. And through this declaration, they agree to work together towards realizing the potential for the benefit of citizens, society, and economy. I invite now the High Representatives to sign the declaration. When the representatives come up, may I ask you to stay on stage because there will be a group photo. I also want to say the music that you are listening to now is the first piece of music that has been issued through the blockchain. The rights to this music have not gone through an intermediary. They are managed by the blockchain. The title of this song is Tiny Humans, and the artist is Imogen Heap. So I just, please listen, because this is very important. There's a big disruption potentially coming. So we are starting, as it should be, with the EU presidency. So for the Republic of Bulgaria, may I please ask Ivan Dimov, Deputy Minister for Education and Science, to come up and sign the declaration. Please give him a round of applause, please. I can already announce the next one. For the Kingdom of Belgium, Severine Waterblay, Director General of Directorate General Regulation and Market Organization. Please come on board stage. For the Czech Republic, Andrej Mali, Deputy Minister of Industry and Trade. Ladies and gentlemen, if you know you're going to sign, you can already line up here if you would like. For the Republic of Estonia, Siim Sikkut, Government CIO, Deputy Secretary General for IT and Telecom, Ministry of Economic Affairs and Communications. For Ireland, Mr. Pat Breen, Minister for Trade, Employment, Business, EU Digital Single Market and Data Protection. You've got a very big job, sir. Come on up. For the Kingdom of Spain, Juan Maria Vázquez Royas, Secretary General for Science and Innovation. For the Republic of Latvia, Mr. Rinalds Mucins, State Secretary, Ministry of Environmental Protection and Regional Development. For the Republic of Lithuania, Elijus Čivilis, Vice Minister of Economy. For the Republic of Malta, Evarist Bartolo, Minister for Education and Employment. For the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the wonderful Mona Keijzer, State Secretary for Economic Affairs and Climate Policy. For the Republic of Poland, Karol Okoński, Undersecretary of State, Ministry of Digital Affairs. For the Portuguese Republic, Mr. Manuel Heitor, Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education. Where are you, Minister? This is when you realize how big the EU is, no? So for the Republic of Slovenia, Mr. Boris Koprivnica, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Public Administration. Well done. Well done on your leadership, sir. For the Slovak Republic, Mr. Milos Katoric, Chief Diplomatic Advisor to Deputy Prime Minister for Investments and Information Society. For the Republic of Finland, Mrs. Anna-Maja Kajalainen, Director General, Public Sector ICT Department, Ministry of Finance. And finally, from Norway, Tommy Skiervold, State Secretary of Transport and Communications. I hope I got that right, please. Also, to let you know, already signed early. Am I missing someone? Are you okay? So already signed have Austria, France, Germany, Sweden, and Luxembourg. So they are not here, but they have. Yeah, please. So, and of course, the European Commission is proud to be associated with this important initiative, which is why it's so wonderful to see Maria Gabriel, the Commissioner for the Digital Society and Economy, with us. And I think Roberto Viola should come up on stage as well, Director General of DG Connect. Well done. That's it. So, this is a wonderful photo opportunity. You better take advantage of it. So, Carsten, where's Carsten? Yeah, Carsten. Okay, now it's your turn again. I say goodbye.
Ann, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great job. Thank you. Congratulations. And not much to do for me, but to announce another coffee break for 15 minutes. And yeah, let's join for a discussion about healthcare then. See you soon.